You are tuning in 10 minutes of BPTV News, brought to you by Binh Phuoc television station and newspaper. I'm the one with the latest news for today. Binh Phuoc to hold various investment promotion. Provincial leader inspect traffic project in Binh district. Prime Minister outlined tasks to improve worker lives. Vietnam socio-economic indicators remain stable. Secretary of the Provincial Party Committee Nguyễn Mạnh Cường chaired a working session recently on plans to organize investment promotion during 2023.
As Binh Phuoc province is targeting developing modern industry and spearhead services and attracting more digital transformation and innovative projects, it will hold promotional events both inside and outside of the country. Domestic promotions will sharpen the focus on attracting investment in the fields of waste treatment and tourism. Overseas events, meanwhile, will be designed to capitalize on local investment opportunities, as well as the global restructuring of supply chains, and attract investments from signatories to the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership (CPTPP) and the European Union-Vietnam Free Trade Agreement (EVFTA). Cường asked those involved to make meticulous preparations in planning and be ready to meet the requirements of investors, adding that all promotional events must prioritize high-tech agriculture and value chains. Relevant parties were also ordered to use their capital for the events.
Chairwoman of the Provincial People Committee Trần Tuệ Hiền recently inspected the progress of upgrade to National Road number DT741 in a section from the Thác Mè Bridge to National Road number 14C in Binh district.
The project has fallen behind schedules due to the rough terrain near Thác Mè Bridge and Đắc Sông Bridge. Hiền directed the project management board to regularly update provincial leaders on construction progress. Asking constructors to channel their focus on completing the project, she said that if they cannot finish the construction within the next 2 months, the province will terminate their contracts.
A blood donation drive has been held by the youth unions of the Joint Stock Commercial Bank for Foreign Trade of Vietnam, or Vietcombank's Binh Phuoc branch, provincial agencies and enterprises, Dong Phu District and the Dong Phu Rubber Joint Stock Company.
More than 300 members of the local youth unions, civil servants, officials and workers donated 281 units of blood in total. The drive was held to encourage local residents to take part in community activities and contribute to the local voluntary blood donation movement.
Now it's time for the top stories around the country. Prime Minister Phạm Minh Chính outlined main tasks to improve the material and spiritual life of laborers at a meeting on coordination between the government and the Vietnam General Federation of Labor in Hanoi on February the 1st.
Prime Minister Phạm Minh Chính asked the Ministries of Planning and Investment, Industries and Trade, Foreign Affairs and Labour, Invalids and Social Affairs to coordinate with the Vietnam General Confederations of Labor in boosting production and business, expanding the market, creating more job opportunities and improving labor skills. The Ministries of Construction, Natural Resources and Environment and Finance should work together to handle issues relating to housing for workers. The Vietnam General Confederations of Labor should coordinate with the Ministries of Culture, Sports and Tourism, Health and Education and Training in building cultural, educational and healthcare establishments in service of laborers, he added. The Prime Minister noted that more than 68 million workers and over 1.4 million employers received support worth some 104 trillion Vietnam dong, approximately $4.5 billion, to cope with COVID-19's consequences last year.
Living standard in Vietnam continues to improve and the number of international visitors to the country has increased sharply thanks to the resumption of international flight, according to the General Statistics Office.
In the first month of the year, 10,800 new businesses have been established with a total registered capital of $4.2 billion. The office announced in its recently released monthly socio-economic situation report for January. Despite declines in both imports and exports, the country still enjoyed a trade surplus of $3.6 billion in the month. Total trade turnover reached $46.5 billion. The U.S. continues to be the biggest importers of Vietnamese products, while China tops the list of goods exporters to Vietnam. Meanwhile, investment from the state budget was estimated to some $1.15 billion. Total retail sales of goods and services were estimated at $23.2 billion, up 5.2% against December and 20% compared to January 2022. Figures also show that social security was guaranteed and economic growth continued to be stable.
The northern province of Lao Cai has recorded vibrant import and export activities via border gates with China in January, posting more than $15 million in turnover in the first months of this year.
Local authorities said since the beginning of 2023, over 45,000 tons of farm produce have been exported via the Kim Ton International Land Border Gate No. 2, which is part of the Lao Cai-Huo Khao International Border Gate pair, generating more than $21 million in revenue, up 27% from a year earlier. The main exports are fresh fruits from Vietnam. Meanwhile, imports include mainly farm produce, confectionery, chemicals, and machinery. Lao Cai province targets $5 billion in total foreign trade in 2023, doubling the figure last year. In Quang Ninh, import-export activities at the Mong Kai International Border Gate have also turned busy, as the border gate reopened on January 28 after 7-day closure for Lunar New Year celebration. According to the Mong Kai International Border Gate Management Board, in the first 30 days of 2023, nearly 73,500 tons of products were traded via the border gate, a year-on-year increase of 13.5%.
Figures from the American Business Association show that the volume of goods imported and exported by the sea between Vietnam and the U.S. ranked second in Asia, only after China.
This is an important basis for affirming the capacity of Vietnam's seaports and increase the premise for shipping lines to use the country's seaports as important links in global shipping chains. Vietnam's seaport infrastructure has been increasingly developed in recent times, contributing to improving service quality and competitiveness. The country enjoyed a trade surplus of $3.6 billion in the opening month of 2023, according to the General Statistics Office. The U.S. remains the biggest importer of Vietnamese goods in January, with revenue of some $7.6 billion, while China was the biggest importer to Vietnam with $8.1 billion. In 2023, the Ministry of Industry and Trade sets a target of a 6% rise in goods and export revenue, with trade surplus maintained.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of our bulletin today. To rewatch this news, you can download the BPTV Go mobile app or visit our website and YouTube channel. Now, thanks for staying with us and see you next time.